been a long time coming. Buddhist Busiso. I'm honored to have you on Dope Conversations. I would like to, from my side, apologize for how long it's taken us to be here. You and I were meant to sit last year, if not the year before.
Yeah, last year early.
Last year early. We did an Instagram live. It was very short. It was a bit clumsy, and I didn't like it. And you travel quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm honored that you're here, and I've got so many questions for you. I'm hoping to learn from you. I'm hoping we can teach as many people as possible. My mother's father, my maternal grandfather, was a man called Hussein Chota Amin. He passed on when my mom was relatively young, before I was born. I'm not sure where his lineage is from. I'm still trying to find pieces of his family. I believe he was a Muslim man. I think he was Indian. But as I get old and become more exposed, I realize we just say India for anything. The guy could have been from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, I don't know. So I always get fascinated when I meet Indian people, when I listen to Indian people, when I hear stories about the Islamic faith. I think many of us don't speak much about the Hindu faith. So you coming here almost triggered that. Just the thinking of my family lineage and my lack of understanding and how much of what you're coming to teach may even be a part of my history, family history, and I don't even know. But officially, Faith, if you can please, Uchela Bantu Njobu Usbusiso, I think you've lost your slave name of Usbusiso and who you are now and what you're about.
Yeah, thank you, Penyo. I'm happy that the stars aligned and we're having this conversation. So, Usbusiso Ikama, Wanhlabati.
Sure.
And as a monk, I go by the name Savya. Savyasaci Das is the name.
Savya?
Savyasaci.
Sachi.
Yeah.
Sachi Das.
Das. Lo Das means servant. It's like a...
Okay, Das is servant.
Yes.
Savyasaci, does that mean anything?
Savyasaci means one who's ambidextrous.
Can use both hands.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah.
Ambidextrous is when you can use both hands or both feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this was a warrior. He could shoot arrows at the speed of the mind. And when he got tired at the speed of the wind, his name is Arjuna. So his name for being able to do that is Savyasaci. So my name derives from being a servant of that warrior.
That's beautiful. So it's like Penuel the Black Pen, Savya the monk.
Yes.
Why Spusiso? Why, Savya, are you here coming to teach us about Indian things? As Africans, we're trying to find African spirituality. We're trying to find our roots. We were disturbed by colonization, by Christianity. And then people like you now are coming to almost sell us to a new group. Is that what this is about? Is that what you're about? Or what is your belief system?
So what I'm coming to teach is not new.
Sure.
It applies to everyone. The history of everyone is this planet and the same universe.
Yeah.
So it's called the Vedas. And the Vedas are crystallized in books like Bhagavad Gita, as it is, and books like Srimad Bhagavatam. The thrust of it all, Ben, is that everyone is essentially a spiritual being, encased in a material body. So these identities, African, Indian, Chinese, whatever it may be, are based on just where you got your body geographically. But intrinsic identity is unchanging. Everyone's a spiritual being. Therefore, there's no like African hunger or Christian hunger or Muslim old age. Everyone is going through the same laws.
Okay.
So yeah, I want to just allow people to understand that this knowledge is yours. Don't worry about this branding that it looks like it's from India. Because if I give you a BMW, you're not going to tell me, oh, it's from Hitler. Me, I'm an African. I don't drive BMW. If it's a good car, then you take it. So wisdom, knowledge belongs to everyone.
Yeah.
And people are perishing, as the Bible says, for lack of knowledge, lack of wisdom. So
before we get into the technicalities of your belief, just a brief background of where you're from and how you got to this point. Because I can only assume that you weren't born into this.
Yes.
And it's somewhere along the journey, you were exposed to this and then you decided that this is what's for me.
Yeah.
So where's home? Maybe a brief summary of home, maybe schooling, where you grew up, and then how you got to this.
Yeah. So home is in Mafikeng.
Sure.
And I grew up in Swaziland.
Okay.
I grew up in a Catholic household, and I was an altar boy at some point.
Sure.
In high school, I became like a Bob Marley follower.
Awabai Rasta.
Yes.
You've been around the block.
Yeah, I was getting high. I wasn't so much irasta with all the dreads. I just enjoyed the wisdom I was getting from Mr. Mali.
Okay.
And at that point, then I started to question my life.
In high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then after that I got into people like about David Icke, finding out about who runs the world.
Yeah.
Global media.
David Icke is considered one of the most popular conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
Considered. Yeah, and he drops a lot of knowledge and information around people that run the world and how the world operates.
True.
This is still in high school?
This is in high school, leading towards university.
Sure.
And Ike Manje has been proven not just to be conspiracy theorist, but
and a crazy man.
Yeah, he was really on it. So it opened sort of that inquiry in me. Who designed life the way it's being played out?
Sure.
So then I was at Pretoria Tech. I was doing IT there.
Sure.
And we started our own society, AFRA, African Renaissance Association, based in people like about Dr. Matwele Motsecha at Kara Heritage Institute. And we thought, we are being packed here with these Afrikaners. They get so many privileges. We all have to get in the bus to go to res, and they're coming in their cars.
Yeah.
So we've been left behind.
Yeah.
So why are they controlling our time here? Come at this time, at that time. Why don't we get together, share ideas, and build a different dynasty for black people? So it's at that time when I was really thirsting to know where is the wisdom culture that could answer these questions that I bumped into this Bhakti Yoga, knowledge.
Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga, yeah.
Okay.
So it was a poster on campus advertising Bhakti Yoga Society. Their topic was a cure for all diseases.
Sure.
So I was thinking, Laba, they're probably smoking weed like me. Or, I mean, what cure for all diseases?
Sure.
But because we were curious young minds, we descended onto that program.
Yeah.
And an Afrikaans guy was giving the talk. I was thinking, again, white man, what's he going to tell us? But when he spoke that we're not this body, but we're the soul that animates this body, it was a light bulb moment for me then. I thought, yeah, because we've got a black consciousness space. But I'm struggling with this. I'm just the color of my skin.
Sure.
Because I know nonsense black people, and I know also nonsense white people.
Correct.
So that one paint wasn't good enough. So this idea of we're all the soul, I could relate, So I thought I must investigate this knowledge, and if I take it in and live it, then I can speak on it based on actually direct experience.
Did you finish varsity?
No. On my first year, that's when I met them, and then that book here, Engineering Maths, was just looking like yours. I mean, I was thinking, who created all these equations anyway? Why am I solving for X? But when I got this wisdom, I understood actually I should be solving my real problems of conditioned life.
Yeah.
And so instead of getting on the bus to go to campus, I was going to an ashram in Hatfield in Pretoria.
An ashram? What's an ashram?
Ashram is, you could say, the Sanskrit word for like a temple.
Okay.
Yeah, a place where monks are staying and where they are cultivating spiritual knowledge, following a lifestyle that helps to develop their consciousness.
Is an ashram the word for like a Hindu temple? Like we'd say a mosque or a church? Or is it something else?
You would say an ashram would be like the convent in a Catholic space. Okay. Yeah.
What is the name for a Hindu temple? Is there a name?
It will be, it's called mandir.
Mandir.
Mandir, 2 words. Mana means the mind.
Okay.
Dira means sober.
Okay.
So the place where the mind is sobered up. It's a mandir.
Yeah. Mafikeng, you come from Nguni family, Ntlabati?
Yeah, Ntlabati.
Sibusiso.
My father is Swati.
Okay.
And my mother is Zulu.
And then from there, you guys went back to your father's home in Swatini?
No. My father, like, unfortunately, most African fathers. Yeah. Hey, Pen, anyway, maybe you relate. He's a progenitor. He's got children everywhere.
What a hero.
And so he never married my mother.
Okay.
So I've always been...
What's a progenitor? Yes, you could be swearing at me.
No,
what's a progenitor?
Means just he's making children.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a good relationship with him?
No. Actually, I've never known him. I think maybe 3 years or 4 years back, I got a phone call first time I spoke to him on the phone.
No, we'll speak about your dad. Sorry. So he had kids all over. He was never married to your mom.
Yeah.
Why did you guys go to Eswatini?
So no, Swatini was a grandmother
Okay.
who was a nun.
On your father's side?
Auntie of...
On your father's side?
on my mother's side.
On your mother's side?
Yeah. So
Okay.
she kind of raised us when parents were trying to make the economics work. My mother was off in the States studying.
Okay.
So yeah, Maftown.
Your mom was studying in the States?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's important, by the way. But please carry on, sorry.
So Mafikeng was my matric,
Yeah.
Mabato High, my gap year corner. And that's
You call it a gap year when you didn't know what you were doing with your life. That's what we call it, ne?
Yeah, now they've given it a name, right?
Oh, back then it was like, hey, Baba, what are you going to do? I'm a Marx. And you're like, ish.
Yeah. I was
Now we call it a gap year. Okay.
And that time there was a buzz, IT.
Sure.
10 of the century. So then that's why I went to Pretoria Tech to study that.
Okay. First year you dropped out.
Second year.
Second year.
Second year.
To follow this path.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you were conscious in high school. And I'm not sure what prompted it. But it's fascinating and I appreciate it. Of all the things you were exposed to, why was being Catholic not enough? I was also baptized Roman Catholic. Why was Rasta, Haile Selassie, and that lifestyle not enough? Why did you still want more?
I found that, with Catholicism, the ritual was nice. I liked it. It's an hour and a half max.
Yeah, it's very short, but it's short but long because it's boring.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
I used to sit at the children's section later on just
Sure.
so I could sleep. But anyway, nothing really struck
Spoke to you.
a chord. There was no revolution for me there
Sure.
at that time. With the Rastas, it was a step up in that I agreed with peaceful lifestyle,
Yeah.
vegetarianism, and especially Bob was socially conscious, politically conscious,
Yeah.
and I found him to be a revolutionary.
Sure.
And I thought something's got to change in the world, but
Yeah.
how? And because I'm not changing.
Yeah.
So when I met Bhakti,
Yeah.
then there was a process that I could apply and I could see changes in my own life. Like I could drop cigarettes within a week
Sure.
that I met them.
Shout out to Bob Marley. Shout out to the people of Rasta. I think Rastafarianism is still very misunderstood by the world.
Yeah.
People think dreads, they think weed. And a lot of people don't know that Rasta is rooted in Christianity
Yes.
as well. The Catholics are actually not spoken about as much as we should because they badass. The Catholics were like almost the first Orthodox or one of the first Orthodox Christian groups. And a lot of people broke away from them. The Protestants, the Reformed, later on they travel and become evangelists in America. Today we have obviously Dutch Reformed, Happy Clappy. All of them come from the Vatican big boys.
Pioneers. Yeah.
And then we had the Christian Crusaders and all those things. I don't want to jump the gun. Bhakti Yoga. Maybe let's start there. So second year you decide to drop out. What have you seen? What are you doing? And who are you reporting to? Is your mom back from the States? Are you reporting to your aunt/gran?
At that point, I'm sort of a man on his own. I'm in Pretoria. My mother is in Mafikeng.
Who's paying for your fees?
My mother.
Okay.
Yeah. So I could explore because I'm just going back to res, to my friends.
Sure.
So when I understood that this is what I want to do, so I had to sort of ease my mother in. I told her that I'm having trouble focusing at school.
Sure.
I've met some nice people help me focus. I don't want to waste your money.
Cult. Please
Yeah,
carry on.
That's what she thought.
Please carry on. You met some nice people. Yeah. You meant to be studying and you met some weird, nice people.
Because I'd already meeting nice people even in high school,
Yeah.
getting nice and drunk and nice and high.
Sure.
But there was no one who thought there was really amiss,
Yeah.
that I was in the cult of just intoxication.
Yeah.
But this time around, because I'm pausing, it's clear education is generally the gateway to a successful life. So parents, they worry.
Sure.
So I didn't want to, worry her so much. So I said, I'll take some time off.
Yeah.
Get myself right. I'll get back to it.
You're asking for a break or to carry on staying on campus?
I asked that, look, I'll stay with them.
Yeah.
I'll sort myself out.
Sure.
Then I'll get back in next year. Then next year was okay. I'll start second semester.
Okay. But you wanted her to fund you?
To go back to school.
Not when you go back, but this gap year, this new gap year of finding yourself.
Oh, I tell her, no. There was no worry for her to find me.
Okay.
I'm staying with them. Everything is sorted
For
out.
free, everything is sorted. So it was just letting her know.
Letting her know.
Okay. The first thing is I want to emphasize what you just said, because we speak about these cults. You get to varsity and there's these weird churches. You get to varsity, now you want to convert to Islam like Malcolm X. And you're saying there are certain cults we don't speak about, like intoxication, where you're meeting people in high school, varsity, where you come back with a drug habit. You come back with unplanned children. But we don't call that a cult. But those are probably some of the more destructive groups of people that we meet. And you are finding groups of people that were not about that and that were about a different way of living.
Yes.
How did your mom agree? Or was she just like, as long as you'll go back to school next year, it's fine? Because you're saying you're confused.
She wanted to come and see for herself.
Okay.
So she brought one of the uncles. Let's find out.
Sure.
And they got there and, why is our boy staying with you? He needs to go back to school.
Yeah.
The monks are like, no, he's a nice guy. He likes to be here. If he needs to go back to school, no problem. He can go. So I said, I want to stay.
Yeah.
And I'll do it the next year.
Sure.
But I understood that I wasn't going back into that system.
Yeah.
Because outside the monks, I'd already understood that we're just being programmed and conditioned just to push an economy which may be just going to be crushing our real hopes and dreams.
This was the ashram in Pretoria.
Yeah.
There's a story. I think he's a Nigerian pastor. I forget his name. I think it may have been in the Eastern Cape, where these girls ended up taking him, Omotoso, something along those lines.
That name, yeah.
So I can only imagine. Luckily, you're a man, so I think there's less fear for parents. You can imagine a young girl saying something like this to her mom. Found this ashram. There's something called Bhakti Yoga. I'm thinking of going to join them and leaving school. For someone who's going to be listening now, to allay their fears, how do you say, look, if you're feeling confused, if you're not sure, just visit. Hear what we're about. We're not Jehovah's Witness. We're not telling you God is coming to burn you at fire if you don't change. Just come visit, hear what we have to say, and if you like it, maybe there's space for you to stay for a while. And if you want to stay for longer, you can stay for longer. How do you allay those fears of saying, no, there aren't weird places where girls go away with the leader and disappear and funny things happen?
Yeah, everything is, you have to enter the laboratory and make the experiments.
Sure.
So unless you know of a certain way of being, then that's not an option for you.
Sure.
And if you are feeling that all the options in front of you are not giving you what you're looking for in terms of fulfillment, peace, happiness, a sense of purpose, then it's your responsibility to investigate. And something that you've not seen, of course, may create fear, because what is this?
Yeah.
So that's why we're here, so that the picture enters your consciousness. You've seen a dude with this painting on his forehead.
Sure.
You see a Bhagavad Gita. And these ashrams have space to accommodate first-timers, just people exploring.
Yeah.
So, check it out, and then you can have a better comment of what it is.
A week or so ago, I went to I hope I'm not messing up the name. I think it's the Nanhao temple.
In Bronkhorstspruit.
Bronkhorstspruit, which is a Buddhist temple. I didn't know we had a Buddhist temple, especially at that size. Beautiful. It made me wonder how many other alternative belief spaces we have in South Africa, number one. It made me appreciate, even though I know it's controversial because South Africans feel that we allow anything to happen here. But the beauty of being able to practice different belief systems here, it made me wonder how many different belief spaces we have. You're telling me now about an ashram in Pretoria that I didn't know about. Are people allowed to visit? Number one. And number two, what is it that charmed you about the space?
It was...
Before you speak about the charm, are people allowed to visit? Sorry.
Yeah, people can visit.
Anytime?
Currently I'm also running an ashram here in Melville.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's specifically geared for guests, whether it's students or you're working, you just want to unplug.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a space for you there, and you can have sort of a one-on-one, hands-on experience. What is cultivating spiritual life? What is bhakti yoga?
Sure.
Yeah.
What charmed you? Bracket Pretoria Tech.
Knowledge.
So you
Knowledge.
get there first day, you saw the poster, you get in, there's an Afrikaans man, you're like, steal. And then what happened?
Then he speaks, yes, we're not the body, we're the soul. It hits, okay, yeah, we're the soul. And then the rest is, I didn't really hear it. After that, there's a song, meditation. We're chanting Hare Krishna and dancing around. I thought, cute song, nice. They've got a nice drum. After that, there's a vegetarian meal. Now, remember, I was with the Rastas and we're talking Aital. And finally, there are people who actually are living that lifestyle. And we came there already a little herbalized. So
You are high.
yeah, we
Sure.
appreciated that meal. So it was hitting on all sides, intellectually stimulating,
Sure.
fulfilled my belly. And we started coming every Thursday to that session. Second session I went, that's the biggest charm happened. One Bhakti Tietha Swami, African-American guru. He's a Yale graduate or Princeton graduate. He's authored books like Spiritual Warrior. So he came through that day. He walks around the corner, he's got this swagger about his walk. They're throwing rose petals in front of him as he walks. And
Coming to America, Baba Akim.
yeah,
from
he comes
Zamunda.
and breaks it down. He says he's on a 35-country tour promoting his book, Spiritual Warrior. And whatever the topic was, in my ear, I was thinking, wow, this nigga is just speaking truth. And I thought this would be good to live, to share truth with people.
Yeah.
So I was highly inspired. So I became a regular there. And then the last thing that hit me, which is a little strange maybe, one of the monks that was speaking, the young man, Zulu man, he said, in the middle of everything, and some of us have been celibate for like 7 years.
Hey.
And I was like, hey, celibate,
Hayi,
why?
Baba.
He's young, he's intelligent, he's handsome,
Sure.
upheleni. But I could understand with Nanami, I was in a situation where I had understood that because of my need and desire for sex, I was going in a direction where I have to marry someone that, of course, I like and love, but I'm not committed to all that comes with marriage life.
Sure.
But now, if he could skip sex, then he must have something better than sex. So then my young mind was like, what is it that you could do that can
That's
make
better
you
than
say,
sex.
yeah, that's just like, it was insane for me.
Sure. It's another cult, that's the cult of sexual ill discipline, sexual addiction. And then you can add things like addiction to masturbation, porn, which really, really destroy people's lives. I can imagine, young guy, 7 years of no sex, and you're like, tell me your secret.
Yeah.
What does he say?
He says it's the lifestyle, it's the knowledge, it's the meditation.
Yeah.
He says I'm more in touch with my spiritual identity.
Yeah.
And I'm using all my senses in the service of the Supreme Person. And so that connection allows me to be absorbed in a deeper type of pleasure and
Sure.
fulfillment. So I see him, I see the others. It's a cosmopolitan group, so that's also attractive for me because
Cosmopolitan means different races, different nationalities.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Different genders.
Different genders. So
Okay.
young men, Indian, white,
Yeah.
African. So I thought, okay, here's a community where I could get some actual education,
Yeah.
and I don't have to be part of this system and enslaving for just slaving's
Sure.
sake. Yeah.
The whole point was freedom, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were preaching freedom?
They were talking freedom and ultimate types of freedom.
Yeah.
In that, it's one thing to be free from being haunted by lust and anger.
Sure.
There's also a freedom that you are in a universe which you cannot just walk out of. And you have desires of a dimension that is not where you are currently. For example, love, unconditional love. Nobody can be convinced it doesn't exist. Some try. But it's like we always hanker for it.
Yeah.
We read the books. But here it's always conditions.
Yeah.
So how come that desire is there? That means I have experience of unconditional love. Somewhere I've experienced it. That's why I want it.
Yeah.
So I'm also someone who was into love. I wanted to be loved fully and to love fully.
Yeah.
And I'd seen that it wasn't happening. I couldn't do it. My partners couldn't do it. And
Sure.
I wanted to upgrade myself first before I propose to really ask others to explore.
Sure.
Same.
Do you think part of your journey has to do with not having your dad, your mom being overseas, being raised by other people, where you almost crave the home and you crave the family, and this is what you found here?
I'd say there's part of it is there in that if my father was there, he probably would have, pulled the father card. Yeah, when I'm fine, what's
Sure.
this? You're trying to lagwami, kalesami, that
Yeah.
type of. So because he wasn't there, then I could explore as an individual.
Yeah.
Because although parents are important, but if they are not clued up into deeper wisdom,
Sure.
then they keep you caught up in some lower vibration, because that's just how we do it. So my mother being away, him not being present at the time, gave me the necessary time to explore this that has now given me, a most amazing life. I could have never planned it like this.
A blessing in disguise, and we have a lot of them. Part of them coming from what we call tragedy. To parents that are out there that are trying to do their best. I'm present, the mom is present, etc. The importance of letting your children explore belief systems. Do you believe in that, or do you see the danger of it? Because they might end up following the wrong type of group, but you had that freedom because you weren't constrained. Other kids don't, so they end up maybe later on only exploring for the first time, and by then they're already entrenched in certain doctrine.
Yeah, it's important to allow children to explore what is available. Of course, as a parent, it's your duty to supervise
Sure.
what it is they're exploring.
Sure.
So if the parent has already closed the gate on exploration and thinks that what I am consuming, this should be what my children consume, you'll find that reality is that they are exploring anyhow.
Sure.
There's the internet
Sure.
and friends. And generally, when they don't explore spiritual wisdom, then they are simply going to be absorbed in trying to dive into materialism,
Yeah.
sensuality.
Sure.
And that is far more dangerous than thinking they will not be able to digest other
Yeah.
schools of knowledge and act right.
How long have you been a part of this? Has it allowed you to travel? Have you met any people that are worth mentioning?
Yeah, I began in 2002.
Sure.
Yeah,
So we're on 12 years now. I
this
think
is like 22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
Oh, 2002. Okay.
2002.
Okay. Sorry.
Yes, and I've traveled throughout Africa, North America, Europe, Australasia.
Spreading the gospel
Yeah,
like a missionary.
like a missionary. Some places like India, we go to study.
Yeah.
I'm like a street performer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Music.
Music. I play harmonium.
The same drums that you liked.
Yeah,
Sure. And what else?
and then also I teach.
Sure.
So I give talks at universities wherever I go. And it's allowed me to meet the human family and realize that actually, although the cultures may be different, the languages, all of this is cosmetic.
Sure.
And what we're all sort of seeking is practically the same
Yeah.
because we are of the same nature.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who funds all of this?
So it works in the sense that people who value the value that I bring give donations.
Okay.
We have literature that we sell to people.
Okay.
And
The street performing as well. People that donate there.
mainly literature, people who are like, you could say congregation who give
Sure.
money. And those who want your association, they sponsor your trips, come
Okay.
around.
Okay. Let's dive into it. What is Bhakti Yoga? What are we speaking about here? Is this the Hindu faith? Is it something else?
So Bhakti, the language is Sanskrit, also this word yoga.
What is Sanskrit?
Sanskrit is the oldest language on the planet.
Oldest language on the planet.
Oldest language on the planet.
Okay.
And yoga means to connect, and bhakti means love and devotion. So how to connect to self
Sure.
and ultimately to the supreme self.
Okay.
So as spiritual beings, we have an eternal connection to the source of everyone,
Sure.
the supreme spiritual person.
Okay.
So this is a science which allows one to become always conscious of that spiritual reality, even though still operating
Yeah.
in this world of beginning and end duality.
Does it fall under Hindu faith?
Yes, it will be classified as polymorphic monotheism within Hinduism.
Morphic. Poly is many.
Many.
Morphic means?
Means that it can change form.
Okay. Polymorphic.
Monotheism.
Monotheism, I think, has to do with a singular religion or something like that.
Yeah, singular God.
Or singular God.
Yes.
Okay.
So this says that there is one God, one source of everything and
Sure.
everyone. But that singular God, he takes on different forms
Okay.
to do different activities and to interact with his creation, which is vast.
Like the Hindus.
Hinduism is more famous as a polyistic.
Okay.
Yeah. People think it's polytheism, that there are many gods who are same power,
Sure.
and you just choose whichever resonates with you.
Sure.
Whereas Krishna in Bhagavad Gita
Yeah.
is teaching that I'm the source of all the incarnations.
Krishna
Krishna.
is the source.
Yes.
And that's what you follow. So when you say a supreme being, you're speaking about Krishna.
I'm speaking about Krishna. Yes.
Okay.
So Krishna is also a name describing God as the all-attractive person.
All attractive.
All attractive. In that whatever is attracting us, be it money, fashion, good qualities, the sun, everything can be traced back to this personality.
Sure.
So all attraction is ultimately found in the source.
Sure.
Yeah, so Krishna.
So I did a bit of reading. I don't know how good this reading is and how good the research is. And I'm sitting with you because I'm hoping to open up a gateway of curiosity and learning for everyone. Because as you're saying, we all want kind of the same thing. I don't know as much about the Hindu faith as I wish I did. And I realize most people are very ignorant about it. It is noted down as the oldest. I don't know if it is, as the oldest faith, 4,000, 5,000 years old, and beyond.
And beyond.
Of which you've got the Abrahamic faiths, which are the most popular. Judaism, which came first, then Christianity with Jesus Christ, and then with Prophet Muhammad came Islam. Hinduism is way older than that. With Hinduism, it seems to be more complicated. Because with the Abrahamic faiths, Abraham spoke to God, Judaism came with Moses, etc. There was a young boy who was born under the Jewish faith, who was called Jesus. He said, I'm the son of God. A lot of people liked him, and then he moved on. And then later on, there was Prophet Muhammad, who seemed to embody the type of man that God wanted, Allah in Arabic. And then people were like, no, we like this. We want to be Muslim. Hinduism speaks about, is it Brahman? I'm not sure if that's the name. Brahman.
Brahman, yeah.
Who is almost the creator of the universe.
So Brahman, we would say there's 3 levels of God realization.
Okay.
So Brahman is the first and lowest level. That means God is pervading everything. His energy is sustaining everything.
The atoms, the
atoms
molecules.
is within
Okay.
each and every atom. Therefore, this omniscience and omnipresence.
That's Brahman.
That's Brahman.
Okay.
Yeah. And then higher than Brahman is what is known as Paramatma.
Okay.
Paramatma. Para means supreme, Atma means soul. So the aspect of God who is localized in the heart of every living being.
Within you.
Yes.
So that is almost like Jesus saying, God lives within you, as an
Yes.
example.
Almost like, yeah, the Holy
What is that
Spirit
called?
or something. It's called Paramatma, super
Param,
soul.
Atma.
Paramatma.
That's a God as well,
That's God.
but within person.
Yes. It's
Brahman is God
where
in everything.
He's yes.
Okay.
Diffused
And then there's
everywhere.
God within. Okay.
And then higher than God within the heart, who's just a witness, a friend, a permitter, is the personality.
Sure.
The person who you can shake the hand and
Sure.
you can look in the eye. So that is known as Bhagavan.
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan means the proprietor of all opulences.
Sure.
So just segue, the one book, which is a famous book.
Yeah.
You could say all Hindus accept this
Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad Gita
As it is.
Yes. So
Okay.
this means the song of God. Gita means song.
Yeah.
Bhagavad means the one who possesses everything. So the song of the one who possesses
Yeah.
everything, song of God.
And this is not a Bible.
This is a scripture, you could say. It's
Okay.
like a roadmap. It's a conversation
Yeah.
between Krishna and Arjuna. So it's very interesting because it's a dialogue. Like if you had to question God,
Sure.
then you'll find Arjuna actually, he holds us down because he asks all the types of questions
Sure.
we would probably want to ask God and more.
That's actually a great concept. I think, not for today, but I have my own belief system. And in the belief system, obviously, people want to know if there's any holy scripture they can refer to, like a Bible, like a Quran, like a Torah. And I've written one called Penalism Principles. I think it's got 30 principles currently, and it's a work in progress because I'm still alive. But the idea of saying, all the questions you have, give them to me. And then let me write them down, and then I'll make sure that in this book, all the questions are answered. I think that's very
That's
nice.
a dope idea.
When you do the research, so there's Brahman, the creator, is what you'll find on Google. They speak about Vishnu, who preserves creation, and then Shiva, who destroys creation after cycles. I'm only raising this because you mentioned Krishna, and when you research, Krishna is seen as one of the avatars of Vishnu and also a god in their own right. Do you acknowledge that explanation, that look, Krishna is the god, you're saying they're the supreme being, but it almost seems like there's Vishnu at the top?
So this understanding is that Vishnu is the maintainer aspect of God.
Okay.
So the general understanding of God is with grandeur and supreme majesty.
Yeah.
So Vishnu, 4 arms. He wears the helmets. He's really God
Yeah.
and serious. But then God at home, like if you were God, Penuel,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be working hard and trying to see what people are up to. You'd be enjoying.
Sure.
So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So the concept is Godhead means that there is God, but he has his many other expansions.
Okay.
So although you have one candle,
Sure.
that one candle can light many other candles.
Yeah.
And then when you walk in the room, they give the same heat and light.
Sure.
But still there's the original candle that lit all others.
Okay.
So Krishna is that personality who's two-armed, who is an enjoyer of relationships. He's
Yeah.
all about love.
Sure.
And then when Krishna goes to work, he becomes Vishnu.
Okay.
And so when Krishna comes into the material universes, he walks through the gate of Vishnu. And so,
You can hear this is complex already, right?
yes, but then
Okay.
human life is for understanding. If you want to understand God,
Sure.
then definitely he's the most complex subject.
When it says online that Krishna is the 8th avatar of Vishnu, could we argue that it's almost like the 8th personality or dynamic or shade?
Or it just means that there's 10 avatars, incarnations that are very popular.
Okay.
So if you look at them sequentially,
Yeah.
then Krishna is coming as the 8th.
Okay.
There's 2 more that are listed after Krishna. Buddha is one of them. And the last one that is meant to come is called Kalki.
Kalki hasn't come yet.
Yes, he comes when everything has become just downtrodden, and he's come to just chop up everyone and
Sure.
restart the
The-
cycle.
these could not be argued. Look, the reason I ask the questions like this, I think this is important. When we are born, we're almost a blank canvas. And from when we're born, the first thing that happens is our parents give us names. We didn't choose them. They give us names. Busiso. And then from there, they start loading all the software. We are Christian, we are Roman Catholic, you are a Zulu boy, or you are a Swati man. This is where we live in Mafikeng, we are South African, or we are Swati. All these things. And then you end up being like, hey, I'm a proudly South African, I love the Springboks. Hey, I hate people from Malawi. No, you Christians are wrong. You know, we have all these things now. In South Africa, generally, especially as black people, we have our history of African beliefs. We were disrupted by colonialism, British, and they brought with them, along with the Portuguese and other nations, they brought the Bible. And in that, I think today they say 80% of the South African population is Christian. So whenever you bring a new ideology, what I like doing is I like using a departure point of what people already know.
Yes.
So if you know the Christian God, if you know a Jesus, if you know this prophet, if you know a church, if you know a Bible, if you know a gospel, I try to, when I ask questions about other things, to try and reference that.
Yeah, it's always
So
good.
that someone listening, it's easier for them to kind of be like, oh, so Krishna's not God, he is a prophet. Or no, Krishna is Jesus. Or Krishna is whoever. And if we can't explain it, then you're like, look, it is not any of those things. But maybe the closest example is this, but different and. So I hope you don't mind. And I know this is our first sit down of hopefully many, that I'm going to use some of these analogies and questions so that it's easier for people that have already been indoctrinated in a certain way to understand. Because with the Muslims, Jesus was just a prophet.
Yes.
That's how they see him. When people are like, no, but he was the son of God, he was God himself, they're like, no. He was just a prophet that existed and we acknowledge him. Just like Muhammad. We prefer Muhammad, but we also acknowledge Jesus. Someone else will say, no, man, Jesus was just a rebel. We were the Jewish people, the chosen people of God, and then this young boy came to disrupt. You get what I'm saying? So I'm still trying to figure out in that analogy where we place Krishna and Vishnu.
So Krishna would be what is known as God the Father.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then
Dear God, dear Krishna, as
dear
an
Krishna,
example.
Yes.
Okay.
And then so now how does God the Father do all this work of creation, maintenance, and destruction?
Yeah.
So then he morphs, he expands
Yeah.
into different forms
Sure.
to do this work. So the work of maintenance is done by him in the form of Vishnu, 4 arms.
Sure.
The work of creation is done in his form of Brahma.
Yeah.
And the work of destruction is done by him in his form as Shiva.
Shiva.
But now, it's always the case that there's a source of these incarnations.
Yeah.
So, although they are his forms,
Yeah.
but then they are separated forms, individual forms.
Okay.
Yes.
Shiva the destroyer for an ordinary Christian person sounds like Satan. This person came to destroy. And from the little research I've done, Shiva is not that. Shiva is not necessarily an evil being and doesn't do evil. They're here to serve a purpose.
Yes.
I don't know if you'd like to speak about Shiva or...
Yes, we can speak on Shiva. Shiva, the word itself means auspicious.
Yeah.
Shiva. So he is, it said Vaishnava Namyata Shambhu. Sanskrit means he's the best of the followers of Vishnu because he also meditates.
Okay.
If you see him, you'll see he's got some beads, Rudraksha beads.
The best, please say that again, the best of?
Of the devotees of Vishnu.
Almost like the favorite.
Meaning there are many servitors of Vishnu.
Yes.
But Vishnu really loves him. And so they treat each other as like worshippers of each other, although one comes from the other. Like, say, Vishnu is milk.
Yeah.
And you put some acid in the milk.
Yeah.
Then it becomes yogurt.
Okay.
So from milk, you can get yogurt. So from Vishnu, you get Shiva.
Sure.
But Shiva cannot be Vishnu. Yogurt cannot be milk.
Yeah.
But they are both milk products.
It's important that I ask because I like linking religions and beliefs because you see a lot of the similarities and you wonder who borrowed from who.
Yeah.
We speak about an angel, Lucifer, who was God's favorite, who ended up being banished from heaven. And then when all the bad things happened, was assigned, it's that person, that rebel, Satan, the devil. Which now when I think of Shiva, I start wondering if you're saying the best. No, I'm not saying they're Satan. I'm just seeing that link of when you say this was the best version.
No, he's the best devotee.
Best devotee.
But what you find is that because the spiritual dimension is perfect, most perfect, there's an unending status of perfection.
Yeah.
So practically everyone can be described as the best of the devotees.
Sure.
So it's just that he stands out because he has performed very amazing services.
Shiva.
So even this work of when the universe has to be destroyed, it will be created again. So he does that service of dismantling the house, so to say.
The other reference I wanted to raise was Brahman. Understanding that Hinduism is older than Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I found it interesting that Brahman almost sounds like Abraham. And it made me wonder if the story of Abraham speaking to God, coming up with, these scriptures of this is what God wants us to do and the chosen people, if there was ever any link with Brahman. I also realized that Brahman is a very popular word even for us in South Africa because we have cows called ama Brahman. Brahman. And cows are sacred animals for the Hindu people. And again, like I said, this is just us almost starting this journey of knowledge. And I can only imagine when people maybe engage us, some of them are going to tell us we're talking nonsense, or maybe give us maybe better knowledge, or maybe come with a counter suggestion. But I thought that was very interesting. Brahman and Abraham.
On that point, I would say it is good for us to understand that previously the world was run by an emperor. It was an emperor system. Then there's so many other kings who were under the emperor. So the culture, like with this Vedic culture, you can find traces of it all over the world. Although over time, different cultures have evolved. Like Lento, you're speaking about cows. Even in Africa, cows were a symbol of wealth.
Correct.
And they were maintained. You were not just killing them just for supper and breakfast.
Sure.
They were for rituals like weddings and funerals.
Given respect.
Yes.
And some level of,
It's like a parent, actually. They say the cow is like one of the 7 mothers. She's giving us milk even way after your biological mother does.
Correct.
The bull, he would farm the land, so he's feeding you like the father. So all of these things become sacred when you are tracing them back to how the Supreme thinks of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
You respect cows?
I respect cows, but I was a cowherd boy in my earlier days, and Inkomo really bullied me.
You were a herd boy?
Yeah.
Oh, Maudi coward. That was interesting. Coward boy, a herd boy. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, you were a herd boy, and?
And I know, although they look very humble and meek, they are very stoic. And sometimes, you if you don't pay attention, one pair goes this way, the other, soon they're in a field. So, yes, I grew up around cows, milking them. And I don't, in my current state, really find them so special because I've been so exposed to them, but now understand more their significance in terms of the culture and how they are part of the human family. And there's a symbiotic
But you said the cows are our
relationship.
second mother because they give us milk even beyond our mom, and they also help us work the land. You spoke about Vishnu. You spoke about Vishnu as Krishna, but for work. And I had 2 thoughts. The first being Adam from the Bible, and the second one being popular culture and movies today. So when you were speaking about work and the arms, you were almost speaking about the maintainer of the garden. When God created man to work the garden, to preserve and look after the animals. Do you see any similarities with Adam and that version of Vishnu? Or not really?
Not really.
Not really.
Adam could be linked to who are the first people on the earth planet.
Sure.
So the Vedic conception speaks of the universe gets populated from the higher planets, there's planetary systems.
Okay.
And so the first, you could say, progenitors are called Manus. And actually this word mankind
comes from Manu.
Manusya, those who come from Manu.
Okay.
So we have that ancestor, common ancestor in the Manus are also different names according to the different time in the universe.
Sure, the man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Earth and its history of how it was populated is different from how the universe was first populated.
Okay.
Yeah, but Vishnu is on the level of Godhead, like we mentioned. There's a level of Godhead. Then there's a second level is what is known as demigods or devatas. You hear of Greek gods, African gods.
Sure.
Demigods,
Hercules, the ones that get compared, Hercules, Achilles, of which both of them were half God, half human.
Yes.
Which again is another reference to Jesus, who was also half God, half human, because apparently his father was God, his mom was Mary.
Yeah, so what it is that in Hinduism, there's 33 million that are spoken of demigods.
33 million?
Yeah, so there will be like, say if Ramaphosa was God,
sure,
analogy.
Yeah.
Then the different cabinet ministers would be the different demigods.
Demigods, okay.
They've got power, in the different departments. But some people just want to go via the minister to get the tender, to get the things quickly.
Yeah.
But the system should be authorized by the Supreme.
Yeah.
So the demigods are higher than us, but they are God with a small g. So these many gods that people know of in Hinduism, it's not like competitor of the big G. There's the big G, and then he's got his cabinet
Small G's.
of small G's.
Could it be argued as something like prophets?
Not necessarily prophets. It could be said like universal controllers. They're powerful beings. Like
Not human.
Not human.
Also, they're not human.
They're not human.
It's almost like Greek Roman mythology, the god of war,
Yes.
the god of fertility, the goddess of this and that, something like that.
Yeah.
And then you'd have a Zeus, the god of gods. Okay. The second thing was the reference to popular culture, because when you speak about the multiple arms, which a lot of people have seen in Hindu symbolism, popular movies, Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, there's a character called Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange. And he's a medical doctor, and then he stumbles upon a temple, ashram, whatever you want to call it. And in there, he learns about things like yoga, meditation, etc. And later on in the movies, you see these times when he's fighting, where he's got something called the soul stone. You spoke about the soul and the spirit. He has the soul stone, number one. There's a time when they're fighting a bad guy called Thanos. And in the fight, he does this thing of splitting into multiple beings, and also you see his arms lighting up. And in my research, I realized how much of popular culture, how much of Hollywood movies, let's use a nice word called borrow. It's not use steal. They borrow from these things, but they almost don't reference them the way they should, was my one reference. The other one is, in the research, I realized, because I said Hinduism sounds complicated for me as a newbie in the knowledge. There's a prince in one of the books, I don't know if it's called Raman or one of the books. There's a prince who has a monkey sidekick.
Yeah, that's Ram. He has
Ram.
Lord Ram, he has his servant there is called Hanuman.
Hanuman.
Yeah, you have Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes
This movie
is the one.
Yeah, they have borrowed this. It's actually a planet that exists like that. They are called Kim Purushas. This Kim Purusha is actually almost like a question. Kim, like, means what? And Purusha means person. It's like, what type of person is this? So they are half monkey, half humans, but they are, magnitudes higher than us in terms of their mystical ability.
Sure. When I saw the name Hanuman, I immediately got triggered because, again, Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I remember Ukredo Mutu has spoken about how he's once, or I don't know if it was once, he's had meetings with Stan Lee, the founder of the Marvel comics. And how a lot of these ideas about Spider-Man and all these things were actually borrowed from so many different concepts around the world, and specifically even here in South Africa. You see it maybe in one of the latest Spider-Man movies. It's one of the animated ones. I don't know if it's Across the Spider-Verse, something like that, where you start seeing the references to India and other places. In Black Panther, there are a group of people in Wakanda called the people of the gorilla tribe, the Jabari.
Jabaris.
And Mbaku, who's the leader, who we really liked in the movie, says all glory to Hanuman. And I remember that reference very quickly, and it made me again think about, I wonder how many references. You spoke about yoga, you speak about mankind and the manus, even terms like karma.
Karma, guru, pandit. So the original knowledge of this world is called Veda. So these Vedas are like manuals. What is this universe?
Bibles?
You could say manuals, texts that are...
Four of them.
Yeah, originally, yes, Atava, Yaju, Sama, and Rig Veda.
Sure, the four main Vedas at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then as the culture is oral, so people go to ashrams, take a guru, and they learn this knowledge by hearing.
Yeah.
So what we're finding now in the modern world is that the concepts for these movies, which show a larger than normal reality, other planets, superheroes, weaponry that's fascinating, they're borrowing, as you're using the word, from this Vedic text.
The Vedas.
And then, as you said, they don't reference. So what happens is that by the time we come and say these are realities, everyone is already stuck on its Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's made up by some person.
And that person must be so creative
Yeah.
and have a great imagination. Can't you know? They
No.
borrowed from elsewhere.
Yes. So actually, it's time for us to reclaim this human knowledge.
Yeah.
And that helps you, even sitting in Joburg, your mind can be very broad because your reality is not just so tiny based on what you are experiencing here, but you understand even this idea of multiverse.
Yeah.
It's an old idea in the Vedas. It's known fact.
Yeah, that there's other universes and parallel universes and multiverses.
Yeah, except now it's being marketed as though there's a version of me that exists maybe in some other universe.
Sure. Science fiction and Hollywood.
Yeah, it's an extension of I'm an enjoyer. So now I want to feel like I'm enjoying in different universes at the same time. So if we go back to the wisdom text, then we can get to have a clearer understanding of some of the concepts which have come in through pop culture with a watered down presentation.
I found myself wondering, we speak and we've all kind of agreed in the world that life started in Africa, cradle of humankind and all those things. Reading about the origins of the Hindu faith and those things had me questioning, and I'm not sure if there could be an argument that life could have started in India or around there. But I want to read something I found online. There's a river called the Indus, or the Indus River. People don't know. And again, if this is not correct, people will correct me. You can correct me if you know a different knowledge. There's the Indus River. People can go find it. They can go Google it. Which, according to the people of the time, was known as the Sindhu River. And there were Persians there, and they couldn't say Sindhu. It's almost like people, like we spoke about Iblaman, where certain Zulu people, maybe they struggle with the R, and then they replace with an L. So instead of Sindhu, maybe they'd say Shindu or Shindu, and it became Hindu, or Hindu. And it became Hindu, and they became the people of Hindu. Those people around the Indus River. Later on, the Greeks would come and they'd remove the H and put the IA, which apparently was more comfortable for the Greeks. It's almost like Smolanyana or Lewei, kind of adding your own prefix, suffix. So it became India. So there's a link between Hindu and India because they come from the same word, linking them to the Indus River. Then you look at these, you speak about the oldest language being Sanskrit, and we speak about the oldest belief systems being these Hindu and the derivatives. It makes me wonder when we even speak about mankind, if we're saying mankind started in Africa, the cradle of humankind, but words like mankind come from Manus and the Indus River and the Hindus and India. Maybe I'm just asking, or I'm being mischievous. Do you think there could be an argument that life actually started around those sides of India?
Yeah, because the worldview was that the whole planet at some point is known as Bharatvarsha. Recently, Narendra Modi is renaming India to this name Bharatvarsha.
Is that something that's happening?
Yeah, Bharat is becoming...
India's name is going to change.
Yes.
Because we spoke about Swaziland. It's now called Eswatini. Turkey is now called Turkiya. It's adjusted. A lot of other places, I mean, Mtata, it used to be Mtata, the way it's written down, but we're changing some of these things. It's Kawini, it's Eskaleni, and you're saying India's name, because of where it comes from, it's like South Africa. This wasn't really a name. Yeah. We're going to go back to actually what
it was called.
Which is
Bharat.
Bharat.
So the Vedas, the Vedic knowledge and the culture thereof, which is known as Sanatan Dharma, or Sanatan means eternal, Dharma means codes of conduct.
Yeah, a behavior, a proper behavior.
Yes,
Dharma, which is one of the principles of Hinduism.
Yes,
yeah.
You find it also. Buddhism also talks of Dharma.
Yeah.
But point is that this wisdom of the Vedas was for the entire planet. So it wasn't Africa there, China there,
sure.
South America as we look at it. Even we hear the geography of the planet changed due to some tectonic plates shifting and stuff. So you go to South America, you find pyramids. You find pyramids in Egypt. You find them in South India.
Sure.
So it's one people.
There's a great wall I heard about, I don't know if it's in Benin or somewhere there, which apparently is better than or bigger than the Great Wall of China.
Yes.
Sorry, please continue.
So you find that the human race is divided based on its psychophysical nature.
Yeah.
So there's a class of what is known as intellectuals. They were called Brahmanas. Brahmana, it means they have a focus on the spiritual values of life. They studied the wisdom.
Yeah.
So then the culture was then kept, they were like the custodians of this wisdom. So that is what is now in the area of Southeast Asia and the area of India.
Yeah.
So India is younger than the Vedas.
Okay.
So the history of mankind, if it was indeed on this particular continent
Sure.
now, would be credited to everyone, not just those who now find themselves on this piece of land.
With your knowledge and your understanding, when you speak about we all yearn for the same thing, we have souls. Some people argue we have the same blood that flows within us. When you remove everything, we're almost the same skeleton and. Do you think the reason we are darker skinned, more or less hairy, certain type of hair, certain build, do you think it's mostly got to do with geography, climate, diet, and those things? Otherwise, if we go back to the origin, we were all, maybe not like the monkey people of the Hanuman, but do you think we were all looked the same?
No. So variety is the mother of all enjoyment.
Okay.
So in the creation, there's always varieties of species. Of course, some species have adapted based on geography, the weather, and diet, and stuff like that. But the skin color and the type of body you have, for a heavy example, would be like if you are in jail, then there's different classes of prisoners. Sometimes they have a different uniform.
Sure.
So we get our body to serve out a particular type of karma, to have a certain experience.
Yeah.
So there are themes that can also be seen running through different races even. Although underlying all that is a living spiritual being.
Sure.
So it's a temporary station.
Yeah.
In this life, you have an African body, you may have a Chinese body next. If you really misbehave, you can even get an animal body.
If you misbehave.
Fully, yeah.
This is under your belief system?
This is that.
Reincarnation?
Yes, that's.
Okay.
And interesting enough, on that one, just recently, you probably know what's it, this one guy, Schultz, and his guy's Fragrant podcast. Anyway, on Netflix, they've got a series, Surviving Death.
Sure.
And episode 6 is delving into cases of kids who are speaking of their previous lives.
Jeez.
Previously, this reincarnation, as soon as you mention it, people are like, hey, we don't believe. But there's a lot of science also showing hypnotic regressions, past life memories. But reincarnation is not being endorsed that let us keep reincarnating. But real knowledge teaches us, let's end the cycle of birth and death and let us transcend to the eternal world. So the spiritual wisdom which was preserved in what is called India now is actually a spiritual wisdom for all of humankind. And once we start to see ourselves as a human species who are all spiritual beings, there's more unity. But if we look at the cosmetics, continents, color of skin, gender, race, class, that is where that is weaponized against our welfare, divided and conquered. So knowledge should bring us to the deepest level of unity, which is we are spiritual beings. And that was preserved in what is called spiritual India. And that's why now it seems like it's Indian knowledge.
I hear you.
Yet when we look at Manu, our ancestor, all of us, then it's through them this knowledge is coming to all of us.
So you believe from the beginning we were variety already. The second thing is you speak about reincarnation, and some of my research now also raises something that, we made these assumptions of things we actually don't know. I thought Buddha was from East Asia. And the history says that Buddha actually originates from what we call India today. I'm raising Buddhism because reincarnation is a strong theme there. What you're speaking about, I think, falls under terms like samsara, etc., where, again, you're trying to transcend to a higher level. This guy's name, Siddhartha Gautam, is the person who's known as Buddha. And one of the things that I'm taught is that even the term Buddha is not a name, it's more of a title. From India, and then later on the Chinese or that part embraced to a point where we've got fat, smiling Buddhas today who almost look Chinese, but they are more original statues
You see
in
fat
the India
lips
size.
also.
Siddhartha Gautam was Hindu and came from a well-off family, traveled and saw struggle and suffering, death, poverty, etc., decided to go on this journey, finding things like peace within self, maybe nirvana or states of nirvana, which when you go to the east side, maybe they speak about Zen, etc. The argument is he had 12 disciples. I don't know. One of them betrayed him. And again, I saw that reference of like a Jesus character of someone who's leaving their original belief system, Hindu here, Judaism that side, spreading peace and love, which is what the Jesus character was doing. And then later on, people would use it for whatever. But there are those differences. Your thoughts on Buddhism, which I think you've said before is almost like a cousin to your belief system. What are your thoughts on Buddhism?
Buddhism is, you could say, an advanced education system in reference to mastering the machine, the human body, the mind, the senses, dealing with desire. Philosophically, the difference is that with Buddhism, there is really not God.
I saw that.
It's you become enlightened and you are now free of desire, which is identified as the source of all suffering.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that once you hit that enlightenment, then you want to help others. So like, especially Tibetan Buddhism, there's the idea of bodhisattva, that now you are enlightened, but then you are compassionate. You want to reincarnate to teach this knowledge.
Yeah.
It is also atheistic, you could say, because nirvana is interestingly the same as voidism, meaning you're becoming zero.
Yeah.
You're going to the place of no forest, nirvana, no forest. So
Nirvana? No?
Yeah, vana means forest, nir means no more forest.
No forest.
Yes.
Cleared, nothing.
Yes, meaning zero.
Almost nihilism, maybe.
Yes, something of that nature. So we are living beings, and the consciousness or spirit, it can never be cut to pieces, burnt, or killed. This is second chapter teaching of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
So eternal. So it's an impossibility to become nothing.
Okay.
But the idea is that there's a problem in this house, and if you want to solve the problem, just destroy the house. It's not the best logic. But Buddha was serving a purpose in that the Vedas had been compromised by indiscriminate animal slaughter. And so to save the people who were saying, well, it's in the scriptures, we can kill animals, they were not even performing the proper sacrifices. Like today, we don't sacrifice the animals, we just buy them at the butchery, at the spa and whatnot. So then he taught ahimsa, non-violence, and he rejected the Vedas. So basically creating atheism or people to defect from the body of wisdom. But then after Buddha, because he had moved the people from the Vedas, he protected them from deviating. They're following him. He's an incarnation of God. So they're still following God, but they've just stopped doing those bad rituals.
Sure.
Then because he taught voidism, his philosophy also had to be defeated. So it was driven out of India by a personality known as Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya is Shiva.
Okay.
Shiva is deputed now. You go and get the people back to the Vedas. So he taught impersonalism. It's all one. You are God. I am God. Brahman. I am that Brahman.
Yeah.
So people like that idea. I'm God. You are God. I don't have to be accountable to you. Or
This is Siddhartha still.
No. This is now Shankaracharya. Shiva.
Okay.
So he kicks Buddhism out of India.
Yeah.
That's how it then, goes to China, to Japan. And then people are back to the Vedas.
Yeah.
And then Shankaracharya, because he's teaching impersonalism, which is an incomplete doctrine,
Yeah.
he becomes challenged and defeated by other teachers like Ramanuja Acharya, Madhvacharya. And ultimately, the full conclusion of the Vedas, like Krishna says, by all the Vedas, by all knowledge, I am to be known. Because I am the knower of the Vedas and I am the compiler of the Vedas. So we are moving from voidism, nirvana, no God, zero. Then it's all one, Brahman, the energy of God. Then we're coming back to theistic conceptions. And so in Bhagavad Gita, then we're back to there's a supreme person. He manifests in the heart of everyone. He's also pervading everything as Brahman. So Buddhism is very good if you want to learn how to be peaceful, to not be affected too much by desire and attachment. But if you are interested in relationship and love, and these are the emotions which give the deepest happiness. So the theistic conceptions are properly presented in Bhagavad Gita and by a personality. Later we'll discuss such people like who's known as Chaitanya. Is actually Krishna came as a devotee to live like one who is his own servant, to teach us.
Like a Jesus.
Like a Jesus, you could say.
Jesus.
So you touched on the point of, if you look at the stories, especially in Christianity, there's a lot of cut and paste that you will find taken from stories from the Hindu or Vedic culture, from Zoroastrian culture, from what they call pagan. But one should not be disturbed by the stories, but one should focus on the essence of the message.
The principles.
The principles, the details may vary. And so just in summary, one would say that the idea is that we are affected by material consciousness. And we are meant to rise to spiritual consciousness. That is the more natural state of everyone. And so the different religions are different schools where we're supposed to learn about how to rise from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. So naturally, there will be different professors in the different universities, and they may teach and focus from a different angle. But the student should see, am I becoming raised from materialistic consciousness to spiritual consciousness?
Savya, I want to shut it down here. There's still so much to discuss. I want to speak about this on your face, on your forehead. I want to speak about your clothing. I want us to do a deep dive on some of the Vedas, on some of the books that you've got. I want to go into more research myself. We spoke about Buddhism, which has been infused with Taoism and Confucianism in China, what that means. I don't even know if that'll be for us to discuss. Speaking about, again, Brahman, Vishnu, Shiva, these are new concepts for me. There's a story about Shiva having a third eye that remains closed. And the reference to the third eye, I'd like to hear your thoughts if you've done any research on this resurgence of African spirituality. Anu, and some of the gods, the great empire of Kemet, and where that falls into our history and those things. Going into the Vedas, of course, going into some of the principles. And then, just hearing your story, I guess, the personal journey. If after you listen to that guy, you decided to become celibate, or you decided, Baba, not for me, the dietary maybe requirements or preferences, if we should be taking some type of pilgrimage to India, if we should be sitting with some gurus as well. Sadhguru is one of my guys. Where does he sit? Where does he fit in that? Is he just selling popular culture? Who are the people we should be listening to? Black Africans, because of our history, feel like we've been stripped of so much. And the idea of people like yourself coming and saying, here's something else, like you can't bring us an Indian thing after we're trying to run away from a white people, Western European thing. And you trying to be like, no, this is bigger than what you're thinking. What you're trying to get away from is going to take you from this point to here. I'm telling you, you can go jump that and go even beyond. And then the importance of even things like language. People that read the Torah learn Hebrew, of which my name, Penwell, is Hebrew for the face of God. People that read the Quran learn Arabic. Obviously, we had maybe Latin, we had other languages, we've got English now, we've got our own languages. And now you're telling us about the oldest language being Sanskrit and how that fits into those belief systems. I think there's still so much to learn, and there's so many of us don't know. And I hope you'll be able to indulge me as we sit down more and more. But I'd like you to just use this time to anything else that you came here to offload. This is your chance to say whatever you'd like to say in closing.
Yeah, thank you, Penyo. I would say that the time is now. Like Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yeah.
None but ourselves can free our minds. So our cognitive map has been stolen, and we've been chalked out a way of life. And even though we think we are free, we are actually just free to roam around the same parameters that have been set for our minds.
Yeah.
So my journey was Black consciousness. And I had full compassion that my people, actually it's Black History Month now.
Yeah, February.
So many giants tried to give us knowledge of self, tried to liberate us economically, politically, in so many ways, that I'm here to say I've stumbled on diamonds, on gold, on emeralds. And this is not belonging to some Indian man, or this is not something for you to become a monk and look like me. Yeah. This is for you to consume at your own leisure, to adjust your own life in the direction that you want it to go. Yeah. But the syllabus for what's going on in the universe and in the world and beyond is not just the Quran and the Bible. To step out of the fear of schools that say this is the only way. They let you read whatever newspaper, watch whatever channel you want on TV. But when it comes to knowledge of God and the self and the universe, only this book. So it's on you and to explore this Bhagavad Gita knowledge, the Vedic knowledge. And I'm just here as a messenger, somebody who's plunged in himself, who's willing to shed light on certain things, and not here to try and convert you, but to share information. And I'm sure everyone, as they get into these things, will find themselves a little bit freer from this fear of maybe I'm going to do the wrong thing.
What do you identify as? There's Christians, there's Muslims, there's Jews, there's Rastas. What are you?
I'm a Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
What does Hare mean?
Hare means the spiritual energy of God. So you could say AKA Holy Spirit.
Holy Spirit. Hare
the
Krishna.
Energy that contains. And Krishna is the supreme person, God. So it's a understanding of divine masculine and divine feminine. God is these two.
I'm going to visit the ashram in Pretoria. I'm hoping to visit the ashram that you lead in Melville. I think in the description and on other social media platforms, I'm going to try and post as much of the literature that you have for us as possible, and any links that you can send for people that are interested. I have my own belief system. I've been on my own spiritual journey, I think. I was baptized Roman Catholic. My consciousness also was in university, funny enough. So I guess these institutions still have a role to play. Yeah. I also went through Black consciousness, questioning the world. I read the Bible. I researched Islam, a little bit on Buddhism, a little bit of the Jewish faith. And then you just start opening your mind to all these other things. What you're bringing to me is new, but when I started this, I spoke about just the lack of my own family history and knowledge. And who knows, when we do the history, that some of this is going to be so intertwined with our own families, and we weren't even aware. Already some of the words you're using are words that we use in normal life. When people are like, yeah, I believe in karma. And you're like, do you know where that comes from? No, we're going to do yoga with the girls. Do you know where that comes from? And even the movies we're consuming and the references that they make, even your own belief system that you think today is the truth, the way, and the light, and where it borrowed from. There's so much to learn. I'm at a point where I've got a 5-year-old belief system called penalism with me, like Buddha, like Jesus and the big boys. But the main thing there is also the search for freedom, the search for emancipation, the search for love and peace, understanding, purpose, servitude, and connecting with the goodness of life and finding ways to repel, if not to try and assist the evil in the world. I appreciate you coming into my life, and I'm hoping that through my platforms you can speak to so many other people besides all the traveling that you've done, and you can introduce us to so many more people that can liberate us. Sbusiso, Savya the monk, thank you so much for coming to Dope Conversations.
Thank you, Penno. Thank you for having this platform. It's very important, and
Yeah.
Good conversations are always needed. So Savya the Monk, thank you. Catch me also, social media, same name, Savya the Monk.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.